Hi guys, welcome to my channel and today we are going to start with a brand new topic which is chapter 3 Life Process in Living Organisms part 2. So I hope you have heard about this term called life process in the earlier standard. In the ninth standard which you just passed, you had learned about life processes and we have been coming across so many life processes happening in our body. Like, for example, in the eighth standard, you came across a process called as respiration, right? And as well as circulation, where you were drawing that mango shaped heart diagram, right? In the ninth standard, you came across a process called excretion. Then there was something called as control and coordination, right? So please remember that currently, when you're looking at this video, watching this video, there are so many processes which are going on in your body, and these are the processes which keeps you alive. Therefore, these processes are called as life process. Like for example, there's a person in front of us, and for some reason his heart stops beating. Will the person remain alive if the heart is not beating? Obviously not. So basically, heartbeat or basically circulation, that was the process which kept the person alive. So ऐसा process जो किसी को जिंदा रखता है or process which helps to sustain life, that is called as life process. Now, in this chapter, which is chapter 3 this year, and it's life process part 2, we are going to learn all about reproduction, and that too reproduction with its type, that is the asexual and sexual reproduction. In short, the entire chapter 3 is all about one life process called reproduction, and it's two types. First, we're going to come across sexual reproduction. Second, we're going to learn about sexual reproduction. After that, at the end of the chapter, we're going to learn about modern techniques. Like one of them is IVF, then we have surrogacy, sperm bank, etc. Then a nice part on twins is going to come, how twins are born, what are the types of twins, what exactly happens, and then a small para about reproductive health and how our population is exploding. All right. So let's start with the chapter. Now, I hope you understand there are these few questions which we need to answer first before starting the chapter. So let's go. First, they have asked us what are the important life process. Now, as I just told you, in the eighth standard, we have already learned about respiration and circulation. So those are one of the life process. Last year, we learned about excretion, control, and coordination, where we sense things in response towards them. That is also life process. And obviously, अभी आज पूरे दिन में भूख तो लगेगी तो खाना तो खाने वाले हो, right? So that is nothing but nutrition. All of these are called life process. And why are they called so? Because they help us to remain alive. Therefore, they're called life process. All right. So all these names are already in your textbook, which is the answer for your question one. Let's go to question two. They've asked us which life processes are essential for production of energy. So I hope you remembered. Again, back to your eighth standard. You learned respiration and the types, that is the cellular respiration. And with respiration, we learn circulation, that how our blood is transporting oxygen. So these are the process which helps us to produce energy. All right. Next, they have asked us what are the types of cell division. So in the chapter 2, we came across two process. One of them is mitosis and another one is meiosis. So these are the two types of cell division. The difference we're going to come across in some time, where you learn how mitosis is used to make, from a diploid cell into two diploid cells, whereas in meiosis we have one diploid cell forming four haploid cells. Next, moving on, the next question for is what is the role of chromosome in cell division? So I hope you all know about chromosomes by now. We have come across it in the first chapter. All the chromosomes basically, they help us to pass on the genetic material to keep maintain our information, and these chromosomes are the ones who actually carry out cell division, where they create a copy of themselves in mitosis, whereas in meiosis They are divided into halves and haploid cells are developed. Now, next is we have learned about life process in previous classes. All the life process. One of them is nutrition, another one is respiration. We have learned about excretion last year, where you were drawing the diagrams of kidneys. Then sensation and response. I sense something like I'm touching a hot cup of tea, and then obviously it's warm, तो मैं हाथ में रख के नहीं बैठूंगी ना कि अरे गरम लग रहा मजा आ रहा है. So we will remove the hand, so that is response. And these are essential to keep us alive. So these are life process. Similarly, we're learning about reproduction in some time. Now, reproduction is kind of a unique life process which we are learning this year. And why is it unique? So let's take an example of one human being, and that human decides, I don't want to reproduce in my life. All right. So, अगर एक person reproduce नहीं कर रहा है, तो will the person die? Do you think? Obviously not, right? So, if a person does not reproduce, the person does not die. So, how is it a life process then? So, imagine all the humans in the world decide they are not going to reproduce. Will the next generation be formed? Will the species be continued? No, right? So basically, reproduction is kind of a hatke life process. It does not help to keep an individual alive, but it helps to maintain the continuity of the species. मतलब एक species को maintain रखना है, world में exist करना है, extinct नहीं होना चाहिए, तो we need reproduction. But अगर एक person के survival की बात हो रही है, तो we do not require reproduction. All right. So all the above process we learned till now, all of them helps an individual to remain alive. But reproduction does not help an individual, but it will help the entire species to maintain the continuity of species. All right. Now, if you observe these diagrams, they are all about reproduction. As first one, you can see a plant which is reproducing. A second diagram where the hen is forming this egg, which is a means of reproduction. In seed, this seed right here is germinating. Germination means it is giving rise to the roots below and the shoots above, right? And the last one, if you see, is basically one cell. You can imagine it as a amoeba or a bacterial cell, and it's simply dividing into two. So, reproduction is different in so many different organisms. Moving on, next is can you tell? They have asked us, what do you mean by maintenance of species? Now, I hope you have come across dodo bird, right? And I hope you all know that it has now become extinct. Now, what is the reason behind that? Please remember all of the species which are presently, you know, currently present on Earth, all of them are reproducing. And that's how the population or the species is maintained on Earth. But if multiple of them are not reproducing, and maybe down the line nobody is reproducing, they will become extinct. So when you talk about maintenance of species, you're talking about them not being extinct. Next is whether the new organism is genetically exactly similar to the earlier one. Now let's take example of us. So we have two parents, one is male, one is female, and our parents always keep on complaining or talking about these things like अरे इसकी नाक मेरी तरह है मेरी बेटी मेरी तरह है या if we are doing something else like musty or something they complain and they blame the other person. So we are not genetically exactly similar. Some genes are same, some are not. But when you take example of a bacteria, you see here there's only one parent. There's only one cell which gave rise to the rest two cells. So here the genetic material is exactly copied. So they at times are exactly similar. Alright. Next, who determines whether two organisms of a species will be exactly similar or not? So, it is determined by the number of parents. Whether there's one parent, then the genes will be same. But in our case, there were two parents, so the genes won't be the exact. Next is question 4. What is the relation between cell division and formation of new organism? Now, please remember the diagram here, the diagram C, This is a type of cell division itself, where one cell divides to form two cells like here, right? But this cell division is not only helping the organism to simply divide itself, but it is also giving rise to its next generation. So, this cell division is helping the organism to give rise to next generation. All right. Same with us. In our parents, there was meiosis which was happening, and gametes were formed, and the two gametes united to form us. So cell division obviously helps in formation of a new organism. Now you can see I've marked this in yellow, and that is nothing but the reproduction definition which you all need to write. So kindly give the heading of the chapter. Chapter is Life Process in Living Organisms, Part 2, and please give the heading as reproduction. In that, kindly copy down this definition. Formation of new organism of same species by earlier existing organism. That is called as reproduction. Can you write this down? Formation of new organism of same species by earlier existing organism is called reproduction. For this definition, let's see this diagram itself. What has happened? A new organism has been formed. Obviously, the genes of the parent and the daughters are the same, so they will belong to the same species. And who gave rise to this new organism? The earlier existing organism, right? So let's repeat once more. What has happened? A new organism has been formed of same species, and by whom? The earlier existing organism. That is what we call as reproduction. तो हमारे केस में हमारे parents were the earlier existing organism, and we are the new organism. Are we both of the same species? Obviously, right? They might not agree, but we do agree, right? We all are humans. So yes, that is reproduction. So remember, a dog will give rise to puppies, a duck का cat तो नहीं आएगा, right? So duck का ducklings आएंगे, cat के क्या आएंगे? Kittens आएंगे, obviously, right? A tiger will give rise to the cubs, right? The tiger's cub. So that is reproduction. Please do not forget. And reproduction is a unique life process as it helps to maintain the continuity of species. Apart from that, it is a very important character of living organisms because living organisms reproduces. Also, this is the reproduction which is responsible for evolution. We've learned about evolution in the first chapter. This happened all thanks to reproduction. And in living organisms, do not forget reproduction is of two types. One being the asexual reproduction or asexual reproduction, and another one is sexual reproduction. Now, to understand further, I have basically made, these notes for you guys to understand what is reproduction. So, just now we saw reproduction is nothing but formation of new organism, right? Of same species from earlier existing organism, right? And just now we saw reproduction के दो type. एक होता है asexual, another one is sexual. Now let's just differentiate between the two in order to understand them better. So, in case of asexual reproduction, you can consider the example of, you know, a amoeba, for example. So, I hope you've seen an amoeba. It's like a armlet-shaped cell like this. An amoeba singly divides into two. So there's one daughter right here, another daughter right here. Okay. So this one single parent amoeba gives rise to two daughter amoebas. So in this case, as you all can see, there's only one parent involved giving rise to two daughter cells. So we say that the asexual reproduction is uniparental, where the word uni will stands for one parent. Whereas when we consider sexual reproduction, you can see the word bi. Bi means two. So in our case, we had two parents which gave rise to us. So sexual reproduction is always biparental where two parents are involved. So in order to differentiate between the two, you have to remember the parents. When there's one parent involved, we call it as asexual reproduction. When there are two parents involved, we will call it as sexual reproduction. Next is what happened in the case of amoeba was that there was one amoeba giving rise to two. तो जो भी amoeba के अंदर न्यूक्लियस में जेनेटिक मटेरियल था entirely all genetic material was transformed or copied into the next generation. So we say that there was no variation at all. The amoeba is the exact copy of the parent. Whereas, let's take our example. Are we the exact copy of our parents? No, we're not. We're just the combination of both of them. So there is something called as genetic variation. That means there is variety which is seen in our genes. All right. Now, in order for asexual reproduction to occur, the cell division we use that is nothing but mitosis, where one chromosome that is suppose amoeba में कुछ 2n number of chromosomes थे and these entire number 2n was copied in the next generation. तो 2n का क्या बन रहा है? दो 2n बन रहा है तो हम बोलेंगे क्या चल रहा है? This is mitosis. Whereas when you see sexual reproduction, it occurs because of meiosis. Now, what is meiosis? So now, in our parents, that is, let's take for example our mother, her body cells has 46 chromosomes, which is 2n. But we also want the same chromosomes from our father. तो मदर से 2n तो नहीं ले सकते 2n को क्या करना पड़ेगा we have to divide it into n and n, right? So 46 का 23 करना है. This is possible all because of meiosis. So हम में होता है meiosis, whereas in case of amoeba we have mitosis. All right. Now what happens is अमीबा तो हाफ हाफ में डिवाइड नहीं हो रहा है डायरेक्ट टू एन में डिवाइड हो रहा है तो इन केस ऑफ अमीबा गाइस देयर आर नो gametes which are formed right but in our parents there is gametes which are involved तो जब भी हाफ हो रहे हैं उनके क्रोमोसोम्स द क्रोमोसोम्स when they are divided into half ऐसे जो सेल्स में हाफ क्रोमोसोम है उन्हीं को हम कहते हैं गैमेट सो इन द मेल्स वी हैव द मेल गैमेट whereas in the females we have the female gamete. Gamete मतलब ऐसा सेल जिसमें कैसे क्रोमोसोम होते हैं हाफ क्रोमोसोम ऑलराइट नाउ अंडरस्टैंड जो सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन है ऐसे बहुत सिंपल सेल्स में होता है जैसे कि ये अमीबा है मे बी सम बैक्टीरिया एंड दे हैव अ वेरी सिंपल बॉडी डिजाइन तो उनको ना ये जब डिवाइड होते हैं कुछ ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगता है so always the asexual reproduction is a fast process but when you see and take the example of sexual reproduction it is a very quick process is it मैं जस्ट चेक कर रही थी तुम लोग सुन रहे हो कि नहीं नो सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन इज नॉट अ क्विक प्रोसेस गाइस इट्स अ वेरी स्लो प्रोसेस like for humans to reproduce we take approximately 9 months right so remember this is the difference between asexual and sexual पूरा चैप्टर इन्हीं दो में डिवाइड होने वाला है स्टार्टिंग में हम लोग असेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन करेंगे फिर सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन करेंगे एंड उनके मेथड्स भी देखेंगे but I hope you have understood the intro of the chapter. What is life process? What is reproduction? The types of life process? Why is reproduction unique? And what are the two types of reproduction, or sexual and sexual? Please, whenever you're learning all these videos online, kindly write these down because that will help you to revise it later and that will help you to study better.